What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Trad West Podcast, episode 7, I do believe. So, this week's episode gonna get a little spicy. We're gonna talk about abortion, maybe a little birth control too. I don't want to hate too much on the birth control stuff, but abortion, feminists will attack. Me as a man talking on the subject. Men shouldn't be allowed to talk on the subject, apparently. But we're going to talk about it. So, hope you've been enjoying the podcast. We're new to this. We're learning as we go. Make sure you like, follow on all platforms at Trad West Podcast. But let's get into it. So, to start this episode out on kind of abortion and whatnot, first, I'm going to just delve into what made me come to my current realization on the topic. Because if I start, other ways, people are gonna like not want to hear it. Nah, he's just some fucking crazy, pro-life person, da 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 da. But let me give you a little backstory. I come from a conservative household that's pro-life. You know, it's iffy on other things, incest, grape. Careful of how I word things. If it's going to be on YouTube, I gotta fucking censor stuff. But I grew up in a household that was pro-life. As I got older, you know, I became more libertarian. So my views have adapted on the whole pro-life, pro-choice thing. I always thought the pro-life people have the moral high ground. But as I become more anti-government being involved, I was like, well, you know what? And also, as you get older, you realize there are some fucking idiots in this world. And most of the people that are probably getting abortions probably don't need to be having kids, if we're being quite honest. So that is when I kind of adapted a little more libertarian. Well, these fucking weirdos probably shouldn't be having kids either. And you know what? You're peddled with the media. You're peddled from the media that abortions aren't just happening as forms of birth control. It's only happening in rare circumstances where the mother's life is in danger. And let me just say, I think I talked about this in my first ever episode a little bit, but we'll delve into it further. College classes actually made me more pro-life. So the current opinion I have on the matter is because of a college course that I took. So that's when I will push back on conservative people claiming colleges are just warping their kids' minds, because college class actually made me more pro-life because I was listening to the BS. Oh, it's only, rare circumstances when the mother's life is in danger. And then they count like miscarriages at that's not an abortion. That's a total fucking lie. Like, people telling you that conservatives are against like you having miscarriage, ectopic present pregnancy or whatever. That's not considered an abortion. Okay, completely different. So I was in, I believe, an ethics class where they gave like a situation. And it was basically a couple. They were pregnant. And there was a chance that their baby was going to be born with Down syndrome. So the conundrum was, because the baby might be born with Down syndrome, they had to decide whether were going to abort it or not. Hold up. They've been feeding me lies like it's only when a mother's life's in danger that they're doing this and whatnot, stuff like that. Are you telling me you can decide to abort your baby, murder your baby in the womb because it might be born with Down syndrome? And this is the party that's apparently like the caring and giving party. That, if you will, radicalized me more. I've worked many Special Olympics events through high school football, military service, and I've interacted with people with Down syndrome a lot throughout that. These people are some of the sweetest and most caring human beings I've ever met in my life. And you're telling me just because there's a chance that my baby's gonna be born with Down syndrome, I can just cancel that pregnancy and murder that child, abort that pregnancy. That is fucked. That is so fucked. And that radicalized me to join the pro-life movement even more. Because they feed you these lies that it's just rare and it's only when the mother's life's in danger. So I know a lot of conservative families are saying college is brainwashing your children. But if you raised your kids properly to have some good morals and foundations, they would stay steadfast and they would push against this because that's what happened to me. I was taking college courses and this situation said they could abort the child because it might be born with Down syndrome. So you're basically telling me all these people with Down syndrome are just lesser beings and you can end their life. They don't matter. And this is the side that is claiming moral superiority. So I just wanted to start with that as my baseline. So you know I'm just not some like far right, super religious person who's just always been super pro life. I come from the background, but I've changed my mind over the years. And then that course in college really made me change my mind because I realized it wasn't just some rare thing that's happening because the mother's life is in danger. So, ooh, let's see. Let's see if we can get that to stay there. I wear the glasses because if I wear this hat, I got to wear these like this. But so, I feel like abortion is like the number one voting issue in America, which is pretty demented when you think about it. Whether or not you should be allowed to murder babies, I know everybody doesn't view it that way, but that's what it is when it comes down to it. Whether or not you should be allowed to murder babies is the number one voting topic in this country. That is demented. And that's why I say I'm not a super religious person, but people need to come back to religion. Y'all need Jesus. Sorry, y'all need Jesus. If that is the number one issue for you all, that you should be allowed to murder babies, y'all need Jesus. So, I don't want to hate too much on birth control in this, but I was going to go over birth control and abortion. I'm not some crazy person who wants to like outlaw birth control. and I'm against birth control or anything. And I don't. That's like a typical left wing talking point that Republicans want to ban birth control in all forms. I don't think that's the case at all. I've never really heard any prominent Republicans with that opinion. Now, I'll say I don't think birth control is healthy. I don't think it's good to stay on long term, but I'm not calling for a ban of it. But here's my problems with it. So, birth control and the sexual revolution made the act of sex all about pleasure and took away the risk of having sex. Okay? I don't care what you say, and I've been arguing with people on X, formerly known as Twitter. The number one purpose of sex is to procreate. And there's a bunch of people attacking me like that's some outlandish claim. It's not. That is the number one reason for sexual intercourse. It's to procreate. Okay? I know not everybody's religious here, but hey, be fruitful and multiply is what was said. Be fruitful and multiply. And in order to, yes, there's a pleasure factor because it had to entice people. In order for humanity to survive, you need to incentivize people to be procreating. If it was some like thing that was just a hassle to have kids and there was no pleasure involved, people might avoid it. So it was made pleasurable to entice people to procreate. That's the main purpose of sex. But birth control and the sexual revolution comes along, and now it takes all the personal responsibility away from the person for having sex. I don't know why this is an unpopular opinion, but I've been arguing with people on X about this. If you consent to having sex, you are consenting to the possibility of a baby. That's fact. I don't know why this is being argued against. There are plenty of people that are, no. I did not consent to a kid because I decided to have sex. Yes, the number one purpose of sex is to procreate and have children. I'm not saying that's the only reason, but it is the number one reason. And birth control, this is where I hate on birth control. Birth control and the sexual revolution has made sex come risk-free, and people are just openly having sex without the risks. So, takes the personal responsibility out. I'm sorry, if you consent to sex, you know sex leads to the potential child. Ergo, if you have sex, you are consenting to the possibility of a baby. And this is the number one freaking abortion enthusiasts claim that they didn't consent to a baby. And it's like, you consented to sex. You consented to the possibility of a baby. Okay? Point blank, period. So, as I said, I don't want to hate too much on birth control, but look, birth control's introduction to society, before birth control, women had to be a little more selective on who they slept with. Because if you were going to get pregnant and have a kid, you didn't want some deadbeat fucking loser that was just going to abandon you and leave. Okay? So now birth control comes along and women are having guilt-free sex. I'm going to have sex with a bad boy. I'm going to have sex with this deadbeat loser who would otherwise leave me. So, that's a bad thing about birth control. Beforehand, women were more selective because they realized if they were going to have sex with someone and they'd have a baby, they needed a provider. They needed a man who was going to step up and take care of them and the baby. So that's why you see so many modern women these days fucking the bad boy. Dude who's just a complete degenerate loser in and out of jail. Sexual revolution and birth control. Now, also, like I said, not hating on birth control, not saying we should outlaw it, but it is very highly overprescribed. They're prescribing it to females just to control acne and stuff. Inappropriate. And let me just, this is just an anecdotal thing, like a common sense thing. I'm not coming at this with any, data points at all. But look, you have a monthly cycle as a woman. You have a monthly cycle. Do you really think it is healthy to take a pill or an injection or what have you that completely negates this monthly cycle and fucks with your hormones so that you don't have your monthly cycle? Now, look, if you're on it for just a little bit of time, okay. But if you're telling me like a woman who's been on it for years and years and years, are you telling me that's not going to have a negative effect to disrupt their natural cycle for years and years and years? Naturally, just common sense has to play a role. And you know that's not healthy. And then on top of it, many women have come out and said it made them depressed. It made them crazy to be on birth control. But everybody reacts different to medications. I'm not going to say that stuff is like a one size fits all. And then, of course, like the common cope, maybe it's just cope for women being lazy and gaining weight. But I don't know how many I've heard say, oh, well, the reason I gained weight was I'm on birth control. Well, 20, 30 pounds? I'm sorry. If I was taking a medication that made me gain 20 or 30 pounds, I'd immediately come off of it. Hell no. Hell no. So, then we'll get into just the, abortions and, hey, the DNC was offering free vasectomies and abortions at the DNC this year. I'm not going to hate on vasectomies. If you're a dude and you want to get a vasectomy, okay, I don't care. But this whole abortion, they were saying abortion pill. I wasn't too knowledgeable on it. I was like, oh, well, is that just plan B or something? But no. That's not plan B. Which, again, I know some far-right people are probably against all of that, birth control and plan B. Hey, plan B has to be enacted within, the first 72 to max 120 hours. That's right after the deed's done. Never got a plan B for anybody, but hey, I'm not against that if you have to. But this abortion pill that's used, that they were offering free at the DNC, can be used up to 12 to 14 weeks of the pregnancy. And let's just put that in months, because I feel when you say weeks, it doesn't seem like that much time. 12 to 14 weeks is between 3 and 4 months. Okay? 3 and 4 months seems like a relatively good amount of time. And the side effects of this abortion pill, not fun at all. Heavy cramping, heavy bleeding, blood clots. And there was a number of other, like, if you have complications, serious complications. This is just the light stuff. And we're promoting this. We're promoting this for free at the DNC to be getting free abortions and vasectomies. I'm sorry. Crazy. Crazy. So, where we're at in today's society, as I said, I've changed my mind on the topic a few times and was libertarian for a while. Ron Paul's stance on it made the most sense to me in a sane world, but we're no longer in that sane world. Ron Paul's view on it was abortions abortions should be legal but unthinkable. I'll say that again. Abortion should be legal but unthinkable. But as a culture, it's been normalized and it's actually championed to get an abortion as if it's some type of female promotion to empowerment. As a culture, we are so far gone that it's not unthinkable. So I don't know where we go from there. Like, we have a society that champions the murder of babies to the tune of there's almost 1 million a year. Now, let me talk the common sense way of, like I said, I don't always want to push my views on people like it's what you must do. But these people that are telling people not to have kids, you realize the purpose of having children is so they can take care of the previous generation. And the side that's pushing abortions is also the side that pushes Social Security so bad that we need funding for Social Security. Well, look, if you're having less and less kids, there's less and less people joining the workforce paying into Social Security to take care of the previous generation. So, in order for any of these systems to work, you need people to continue to have kids to support the previous generation. This is somehow lost on everyone because they're also entangled in climate change and thinking the world's overpopulated and we need to stop having kids. But if you want to be able to take care of the previous generation, you need to promote having children to do so. Or else you're going to rely on the government for healthcare like Canada right now. And what's going to happen when these people get elderly? They're just going to be offered assisted suicide from the government. So unless you want your loved ones just being offered assisted suicide from the government, maybe you should think twice before voting for these ideologies. Now, a viewpoint that I didn't take too much into consideration until recently, I want you all to really think about because it kind of hit home with me. And look, I don't have kids yet, so I'm in the same boat. But if you don't have kids, think of this. Your ancestors have fought so hard for generations to keep your bloodline going and to last and to keep putting humanity forward. And then we are so entitled in this generation that we have people, no, I don't want to have kids because I'm all about me, selfish, my pleasure, my wants and needs. You are going to let generations and generations of your bloodline cease to exist with you if you decide not to have children. That hit hard with me. That hit hard with me If you choose not to have kids, your generation, your bloodline ceases to exist after generations of existence. All the shit your generations of family have went through to keep the bloodline going ends with you. And so many people are celebrating that these days because we live in such a coddled and entitled society. And people are telling you we're overpopulated and this and that. We're below replacement level. Okay? We are below replacement level right now. And it is going to wreak havoc on our system in a couple generations. So that's just where I will leave this episode. Feminist, come at me. I'm mansplaining to you why abortion should not be accepted. And you don't want to hear men talk on this topic. But I really think it is demented that this is the number one voting issue in this country on whether or not you should be allowed to murder babies or not. It's sad. It's pathetic. It's crazy. So we're going to stop the episode there. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe at Trad West Podcast on all platforms. Until next time, peace.